Welcome to this session, and as discussed in our previous session, we have to extend our code of square where we can put our square design in a function and we can call these functions whenever we want to have square on the screen. So this time we will be learning how to define function in Python and how to call it. The process is very simple. So you know that these are the 4 lines of code which are used to draw square. So instead of having this code directly here, we can first of all define the function, and this is our user defined name. So I am defining a function with name square, then brackets. This is used to pass the parameter if it is required. At this time I am not using any parameter, and this is a colon which indicates the body of the function. So you can see that at present we are getting a error and it says that expected an indented block. So as in for loop, everything in the body should be indented. The same concept applied here. Everything which is part of function should be indented. So I have to indent it. I'm just press tab by selecting these lines of code. So now you can see that all these lines of code are under my function definition of square. So def is actually a keyword in Python which is used to define my function with name square. I'm not using any parameter, and this is my body of the function. Now the next task will be to call this function. So in order to call this function, I have to reach at 0 level. 0 level means this is without any indentation, and just call your function. Since your function is not using any parameter, so we can directly call this by just writing square. So it is important to note that our execution will start from line number 21, which is import module. Then a object will be created in line number 23. In line number 24, function is defined, but it will not execute its code. The code will execute it only if that function is called, and we are calling this function is 29. It means that from 24 we reached to 29, and in 29 we are calling the functions. So when we call this function, then only we jump into the body of the for loop, and then we execute the lines of the code which are mentioned in this function. So the flow will be first line number 21 will be executed, then line 23. Function is defined in line number 24, but it will not execute it, so control directly transfer to 29. Here we are calling the functions. So now once you call it, these lines of statement will be executed. So 25 to 28 will be executed 4 times once you call the functions. So we have the code ready, and you know that in the end of our full code we can add these 4 lines for the smooth termination of our screen. Let us execute these statements to see the output. Good. So we have square with function. So yes, we learned very important concept, how we can define functions. In this case we have defined square function. Now let us discuss one very important concept further. So normally we wish to have our functions flexible or dynamic, which can take few parameters, and through parameters we can change the behavior of our function. So this function is used to design square, and whenever I call this square function, every time it will draw the square of fixed length, which is 100, because we specified length here as 100. Can we change the length of this function by using parameter? So it will be great if we can control the length of our square by using a parameter, and whenever we have to call it, we can specify different value. So let us do this by specifying a parameter to our function so that we can make it more dynamic. So as I discussed, we have to use a parameter for length. So you can define a variable. So here let's suppose the variable is length, and now instead of fixing it 100, I can use here length variable, which is the parameter here. So I'm using parameter length, and then I'm passing parameter length to this function, and then I am using this variable here. So the length of forward movement is not fixed 100, it is controlled by this variable length, which is used as a parameter. Now it requires one more change. So earlier we were calling our function as this square without any parameter, but this time we have a parameter which should be any integer value or float value to which we wish to move. So let's suppose this time I specify the square 200. So now we are calling square with 200. It means this 200 will go in the length and then it will make forward movement of 200. So this time we will get the square of length 200. Let us rerun this code and you can see that we are getting the length of square 200. Next time you can even change this to 300. So I hope you are getting my point, and every time we are getting a square of specified length, and we can achieve this by passing parameter to our square function. Now at this point I have an assignment for you. Can you convert this code of rectangle into function? First task. And second task is you need to think, can we make this function more dynamic by using some parameters? So how many parameters we can use in case of rectangle? Try to solve this problem in which we should having a function rectangle first, and second, if you can pass the parameters to this rectangle function, it will be great. So see you in next session, in which we will be discussing the solution for rectangle function without parameter, and then we will be discussing rectangle function with parameters. But before that, I request everyone to solve this problem on your own. See you in next session. Thanks for watching this video. Again, the code discussed in this session is available in the description of with this video, so that you can directly run this code. Thanks for watching it. See you in next session. Bye bye. God bless you.